Hi, this is Star Wars Purist 310, and today we're going to take a look at this Micro Machine Star Wars setup that I set up more in depth. And these just include the original Star Wars movies. They don't include the prequels or the latest one. So we're going to just take a look at what we got here. So we're going to start where it all started, where the Star Destroyer is chasing the blockade runner, as you can see right there. After Vader and the Stormtroopers get onto the blockade runner, this is a little bit of a battle between the rebels and the Stormtroopers. And then we're going to take a look right here as to when the escape pod lands on Tattooine. And as you can see, there's some dewbacks there, and then you got the Stormtroopers that are looking for the droid. So here we get a shot of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru and Luke coming up on his speeder, and if you take a look at down right, we have a shot of the Lars family speeder, and this is a pretty good setup of the Lars family home where they reside. And right here we have where the transaction takes place. So you have the Jawas selling the droids to Uncle Owen and to Luke, and Uncle Owen's having a conversation with C-3PO. At the bottom, you could take a look at that's the Jawa transport that they travel in. And after the R2-D2 runs away, there's a scene where they run into some sand people, and this is a scene where Obi-Wan Kenobi chases away the sand people after they've left Luke unconscious. And so yeah, as you can see, we have plenty of sand people. There's one on the bottom, on the top, that I don't know if you can take a look at, but here's one that's kind of camping out at the way bottom. So we have here a setup of Mos Eisley's, and we're going to take a look at the cantina in a little bit, but yeah, on the top right, you could have where the Stormtroopers are being informed, and this is kind of just the general layout of Mos Eisley's spaceport. And this is one of the most popular scenes in all of Star Wars, which is the Star Wars Cantina. You could take a look. There's a Star Wars Cantina band over here. This is actually a cutout that of a different piece that I've cut out and I've glued onto here. This is actually a Hammerhead original that was made by I believe Jad Bean, and he posted it up, and so I purchased that one. So we have all the canteens. I actually cut out a figure here as well, and I glued him on to be the bartender over there at the cantina. Here I have a confrontation between Han and Greedo, and this is the scene where they sit down and Greedo's pointing at Han, and in my version Han shoots first, obviously. And I'm not a fan of the special edition, but I decided to include that encounter with Jabba and Han Solo. This might not be accurate because Salacious Crumb, as you can see, he's not in the special edition version, but yeah, that was the only extra spare piece of Jabba that I had. And this is the scene where they're escaping. You can see in the stickers there's some stormtroopers that are approaching the Millennium Falcon. Now this is Princess Leia being interrogated by the droid, and there's Darth Vader in the middle being as hostile as ever before. And then we go down, we take a look at when they try to break her out of the detention cell, and you see there Han and Chewbacca. Han's in the stormtrooper outfit. And if we go down here, we get a look at the trash compactor. If you look at the middle right there, there's the creature that takes Luke Skywalker down under, and I've just laid out some random characters that you might see on the Death Star. There's the mouse droid, and here's a scene of Han Solo. He's getting into a little bit of trouble with some stormtroopers at the Death Star, and there's the Millennium Falcon. They're trying to get to that, and in the meantime, you have Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader dueling it out. So that includes our first Death Star look. So this is the Yavin spaceport. As you can see, the rebels are having a little bit of a meeting over here, and this is a very interesting layout right here, because you have one of the spaceships flying away and decide to add a Y-wing and some X-wings flying alongside that Y-wing. And then you have the space station right here, where they were telling you how much time it was going to take until the Death Star was going to be in range. And this is one of my favorite pieces right here. This is the where they're basically going down the shaft to blow up the Death Star, and here you see Moff Tarkin. He's not actually out there, but you see the 3 TIE fighters that are chasing after the X-Wings, and this is Darth Vader's personal TIE fighter. We didn't have a lot of room, but it was pretty cool to recreate this scene. So that concludes our look at A New Hope, and now we're going to take a look at The Empire Strikes Back. And so here we have a scene where Luke Skywalker is battling out with the Hoth beast, and he obviously loses that battle, and as you can see up top right there, he gets strung up. And then next he has that encounter with with Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's Luke Skywalker right there in his tauntaun. Obi-Wan Kenobi is kind of in this glowing outfit, and this is the speeder that ends up coming in to save Luke Skywalker, and that's Han Solo that discovers them as well. Here's one of our action-packed scenes. We have basically the whole Battle of Hoth going on here. First we have the transport that's being flown away successfully, and then we have a series of stormtroopers. You have the snow trooper right there, and you have the AT-AT and the one AT-ST. If you look up top, we have a little bit of the AT-AT that was taken down with the cables, and we have some fallen rebel troopers right there. If you raise this part up a little bit, you could see more of the rebel station. There's Princess Leia on the bottom left, and so this is one of my favorite pieces because it's very action-packed. You got Darth Vader who's sneaking in from the back. Now this is a bit of a hybrid scene in that if you look carefully, this is Luke Skywalker receiving treatment for 21B after he's found at Hoth. At the same time, we have some generals and some officers of the Rebel Alliance preparing to run away from the Imperial forces after they've landed on Hoth. And so as they get lost, here you see a Mynock on the bottom, as well as some TIE bombers, and this is obviously not exactly how the scene went, but I just imagined the TIE bombers flying from above while Princess Leia is looking for what's wrong, and ultimately is the Mynock. And perhaps one of the most memorable scenes is when Luke Skywalker is training with Yoda. There's Yoda's house, and you can take a look more in depth on Yoda's house, but if I raise that, it's connected to my other piece right there, so I don't want to mess that up. And this is the scene where he imagines Darth Vader in the cave, and there's the swamp animal that spits out R2-D2. And if you look carefully, there's the Luke Skywalker's swamp X-Wing, and it does come up by using the Force, obviously. Luke Skywalker was not strong enough to do it, but Yoda was at the time. And I do have another piece right here of the same scene where Luke Skywalker is battling the imaginary Darth Vader, and there's some training. You see Luke Skywalker hanging upside down, doing some training right there. And then we're going to move over to when they're looking for the Millennium Falcon. So this is on the spaceship. You see some bounty hunters on the left side. We're going to see some more on the right soon. But you see Darth Vader. He's accepting somebody's apology in only the way that Darth Vader could possibly do it. If we go down here, we have one of my favorites, which is the collection of bounty hunters that are hired to find the rebels. Here we have a Lando Calrissian waiting to greet the Millennium Falcon, and then up here we have a shot of Bespin Cloud City with some of the Cloud City spaceship. And this is the scene where Chewbacca discovers a C-3PO with all the other junk, and there's an Ugnaught right there, and I just broke apart a lot of pieces of droids and pretty much made a bunch of junk. And then if you go a little bit below, you have the scene where Han Solo is is being tortured by Darth Vader, and you got Boba Fett, one of crowd favorite right there. And this is an incredibly popular scene where Han Solo is being encased into carbonite. There's Princess Leia being distressed, and Chewbacca wearing C-3PO, and you have Darth Vader, Boba Fett, and you have Ugnaught basically controlling it on the bottom. And if you go up a little bit, we have the scene where they're chasing this Boba Fett Slave 1, and as you can see, Lando Calrissian is still feeling the effects of being choked by Chewbacca. And if you go up a little bit more, we have one of the greatest battle duels in history in Empire Strikes Back, when Luke Skywalker faces off personally with Darth Vader. And this is a shot of before Luke Skywalker is thrown out the window. And ultimately they do end up here, and Luke Skywalker falls down all the way down here, and as you can see, he's hanging for dear life. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a Millennium Falcon to come down and save him, but you get the picture. And so this is the last scene of Empire Strikes Back, where Luke is being tended to by 2-1B for his hand. And then if we scroll down a little bit, you see Luke Skywalker after he's received medical treatment. And then if we come out here, we see the medical frigate in which the final scene ends, and that's where Luke is receiving treatment. So that concludes The Empire Strikes Back. Now we're going to go into The Return of the Jedi, and we have some of our coolest stuff here. As you can see, there's Bib Fortuna and Biomark Monk, who's waiting to greet C-3PO and R2-D2. And this is kind of the junk area with the droids, and as you can see, there's the droid that's getting kind of tortured by being flipped upside down. And here we have Jabba's palace, and this is one of my finest works. And we have a bunch of characters out there. See Bib Fortuna. This is a custom-made squid head right there. This is Princess Leia in disguise as the bounty hunter. As you can see, we have some Gomoran guards, and down here we're going to have, well, if you look at the top right, you have Han Solo being encased in carbonite. There's Princess Leia trying to save him, unsuccessfully so. And down here we have Luke Skywalker, who's just been dropped into the Rancor pit, unfortunately, but we know that he eventually gets out of that one. And so we're going to move to the Sarlacc's pit, and this is where they were supposed to be thrown into. There's Jabba's barge, and here's the great battle at Sarlacc's pit. We know that Luke Skywalker ends up taking over this battle, but I don't have him in this scene. We have Lando Calrissian on the right, battling out with Weequay, and there's Han Solo, who's blind at the time, and here's Boba Fett, who unfortunately just gets in the wrong place at the wrong time and goes flying into Sarlacc's pit. And so we've recreated the scene in the spaceship where the rebels are meeting. There's Admiral Akbar. There was no figures of Mon Mothma, unfortunately, but you do see some recognizable faces at this meeting. And this is the new Death Star, and there's some shuttle Tidariums that are flying away from it. And here I've recreated a speeder chase, and as you can see, I've added some trees to make it more interesting, but these are the stormtroopers that initially chase the speeders as they go into the forest. You get kind of a cool view when you kind of lay it out like this. You could kind of take a look at the speeders from a ground level. And ultimately, they end up with the Ewoks and their C-3PO, who they think is some type of deity. And there's the net below, which ultimately captures them, but I don't have them encased in the net. Now, this is one of our finest works because we have a multitude of spaceships that are going along. And here they're getting ready for battle. And as you can see, there's Lando Calrissian and Nien Nunb on the Millennium Falcon cockpit getting ready to go into battle. And here we have a shot of half a Death Star and a bunch of rebel spaceships about to approach. And the TIE fighters are coming out, and there's the slew of Star Destroyers and just making sure that they don't escape. See some TIE fighter, rebel fighter action. Now this scene has a ton of action in it, and this is basically the battle at Endor with the Ewoks. They come to save the day, and you could take a look. There's some ATSTs, And here we have the scene where the Ewoks are hiding on top of this, and they end up tricking the, the Imperial guards. And you see some biker stormtroopers over there, and you see the ATST getting tripped up by the logs. So there's a lot going on here, and this is the scene where Han and Leia and them are trying to get into the bunker. And so this is probably one of the more complicated scenes. I didn't have a lot of space to work with, but I wanted to showcase an enormous battle. So we have a lot of figurines going on here, but not a lot of space to work with. And of course, we have our grand scene where Luke Skywalker faces off with Darth Vader one last time, and you see the Emperor there with his guards, and we know that this story ends in a happy ending, because although Darth Vader dies, he ends up managing to save Luke Skywalker from the Emperor. And here we have the shuttle Tidarium in which Luke Skywalker manages to escape safely, and finally we have where the X-wing fighters manage to break in to the Death Star and take out the reactor, and we know that it's victory from there. And so that concludes the model of the Star Wars episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so I don't plan on making a model for episodes 1, 2, and 3, but maybe possibly once for the new ones. We'll see. So I hope you enjoyed.